Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today, as you can see in the title, we're going to be talking about the Mac Studio and Studio Display, which was recently announced at Apple's Peak Performance event. Now, before we get started, please be sure to be subscribed to the channel, helps out the channel a lot. Let's get straight to the topic. So I do have my iPad here because there's a lot of impressive specs about both products. But we're going to be first jumping into the Mac Studio. So obviously the Mac Studio does come with two options of the chips, which is one with the M1 Max, which was the previous high-performance chip from Apple, or you can get the M1 Ultra, which is the next gen, or the latest, fastest CPU or chip from Apple themselves. So obviously the M1 Ultra, with it being two M1 Max chips combined, it gives you a lot of performance boost with this CPU, GPU, the neural engine, I believe, and it is able to provide up to 18 streams of 8K ProRes video playback, which is quite insane if you're doing high resolution video editing, for example, for movies, or a client that wants a really high quality video. So this is a good thing to have. And I believe you can actually have 4 of the Pro displays from Apple themselves. The liquid retina display. Well, I forgot what it's called because it was such a meme back then, but you can basically have 4 of those and a 4K TV connected to this thing, which just shows you how much power this thing has. So obviously the design of this thing is a bit interesting. I mean, it looks like they just stacked 2 Mac Minis on top of each other and basically poked a whole bunch of holes at the back and a few in the front, but it actually doesn't look too bad. It's 3.7 inches tall, 7.7 inches wide all around, so it is not too big, and it is able to go underneath your monitor for most cases, or underneath, for example, a shelf that I have, which it can probably go underneath. I still have to measure that. But here are the ports that you'll be getting. So you'll be getting 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports at the back, with one 10 gigabit Ethernet port, one HDMI port, 2 USB-A ports, and 1 3.5mm headphone jack. And also you'll also have the power port. In the front, you have 2 USB-C ports or Thunderbolt 4 ports, and 1 SDXC port, which is really useful if you're a videographer or just someone that is moving photos from your camera to your system. Now, this thing is pretty insane from what they have displayed. From what they have shown is that a lot of developers are loving this, saying that it is instant for doing high renders and seeing the change in instant reaction, which is quite good to hear, especially if someone like you that might be wanting this for your work or doing some game development, 3D modeling, anything that's creative basically, or needs a lot of processing power and a lot of GPU power. This is probably the best thing to get. Now that we have talked about the Mac Studio, which is basically the current good, I guess, PC for desktop, let's go to the Studio Display, which is actually a very interesting product. So the Studio Display is a 27-inch 5K Retina display. It has 14.7 million pixels, which is actually quite good, 600 nits of brightness, 1 billion colors, P3 wide color, and this thing has a lot of specs that can actually prove that it is better than a lot of displays. So obviously this has a A13 Bionic chip installed in it, which helps functions a lot of the things that are included, which includes the 12 megapixel ultra wide camera with center stage, which is the very first Mac to ever have center stage. After all, iPads had it for a long time, well, probably a year or 2, and now it's coming to Macs with the Studio Display. But yeah, that'll be actually quite useful for meetings or doing YouTube videos or interviews, because then you can stay in the center of the screen and also is good quality. Now you have 3 mics, I think center mics, and you have 6 speakers built into this thing, which also gives it the spatial audio with Dolby Atmos. Now, this thing is so spec'd out that it also has a lot of ports. So if you think of it, you can have a lot of ports just from the Mac Studio and Studio Display combined. So the Studio Display has 3 USB-C ports to connect and charge devices, and 1 Thunderbolt port, which you can use for either charging or use it as a display port, for example. Now there will be 3 different modes of stands, so I guess Apple did listen to, learn from the previous mistakes. They do include a stand, which is quite good to hear, especially if you're someone that is spending a lot of money to get a nice, decent setup, or nice setup to do video editing or game development or whatever you want to use this for. But it's nice to see that they include a stand. You can also get the tilt and height stand, which is what they sold previously with the Pro XDR display. And then they have the VESA mount, which is also used for if you want to mount or have it vertically or mount it to a different stand. So there is that option. Now, this will obviously work with all the Macs, which obviously they keep the design in the same range. But yeah, now let's get to the prices of Mac Studio and Studio Display. So the Mac Studio will start from $1,999 or $2,000, you could say, which includes the M1 Max chip. Now, honestly, the highest spec you can get is probably 560 gig or something like that, which can upgrade up to 8 terabytes of storage. So that is more than enough. And I think you can go up to higher than 100 gigabytes of RAM. But if you're wanting to get the latest M1 chip, which is the M1 Ultra, that'll cost you an extra $2,000, which will rise it to $4,000 or $3,999. And that excludes the upgrade of having the 8 terabyte storage and increase with the RAM, or even increase with the GPU, because you can actually increase the GPU by I think 30 cores, which is actually quite good. Also, if you're doing a very intense graphic type of project, it'll be very useful. But with a lot of the maxed out specs for the M1 Ultra version, it'll cost around about $8,000 if you do go all the way up to 8 terabytes and all that. And obviously you have the 2 versions with the Studio Display, which obviously without the nano texture, I think this, I forgot what it's called, but it basically is like a cover for the display, which basically makes it look a bit more cleaner. But without it, it'll cost $1,700 or $1,500, and with it, it'll cost maybe $1,700 or $1,800. Otherwise, my thoughts of this is it's probably going to be insane. A lot of people might have a bit of their interest in it, but yeah, I just realized the display went off, but I'm okay with that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what you want to see next. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys in the next one, and be safe. And yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye.